I finally did it. I'm 60 years old today, and I just walked out of the bank after making my very last mortgage payment. I expected to feel a surge of triumph, like a king finally reclaiming his kingdom. I thought there would be a weight lifted off my shoulders, a sense of absolute freedom that I had been chasing for 3 decades. But as I sat in my car in the parking lot, staring at the paid in full stamp on the document, I didn't feel like a winner. I just felt tired. I felt old. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly poor. I drove back to my house, the house I finally legally own, and stood in the middle of the kitchen. I looked at the granite countertops, now slightly chipped and dated. I looked at the hardwood floors I had agonized over paying for. On paper, I am a millionaire. This house, in this up-and-coming neighborhood that finally arrived, is worth $1.2 million. But as I stood there in the silence, a terrifying realization washed over me. I cannot eat my kitchen cabinets. There is a massive difference between having wealth and having a life, and I had spent 30 years choosing the wrong one. For 3 decades, I sacrificed everything to build equity. I was the responsible one. I skipped the family vacations to Europe that Leo took. I stayed in a high-stress job I absolutely loathed because the mortgage was a death pledge I couldn't afford to break. I dumped every spare cent I had into new roofs, property taxes that never stopped climbing, and hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. I thought I was winning the long game. I thought I was building a fortress for my retirement. But let's look at the math that the American dream forgets to mention. While I was saving money by aggressively paying down a 3% loan, my friend Leo was playing a completely different game. Leo never bought into the hype. He stayed in a comfortable rental, kept his overhead low, and funneled that same homeowner money, the down payment, the taxes, the maintenance, into a simple, boring index fund. While my wealth was trapped in stagnant bricks and mortar, Leo's money was compounding at 8% or 10% in the global markets. He didn't have to worry about a cooling market or a bad neighborhood. He didn't have to pay a 6% commission to a realtor just to get his money out. His wealth was liquid. It flowed wherever he needed it to go, whenever he needed it. Today, Leo's portfolio is worth over $2.5 million. He lives in a luxury apartment with a panoramic view of the park, and he doesn't own a single brick of it. If he wants to move to Italy tomorrow to learn how to make pasta, he just clicks a button, sells a few shares, and buys a first-class ticket. He has absolute mobility. He has absolute choice. Me? I'm what they call house rich and cash poor. To actually use my wealth, I have to sell the very thing I spent my entire life paying for. I'd have to pack up my memories, pay $100,000 in transaction fees, and move into a smaller, worse house just to have enough cash to buy groceries. Or I can take a reverse mortgage, which is just a fancy way of giving the house back to the bank so they can pay me my own money in installments. My $1.2 million asset is a prison. I'm 60 years old, and I'm still stressed about the cost of a new water heater because all my millions are trapped inside the walls where I can't touch them. I looked at a photo Leo sent me this morning. He's in a vineyard in Tuscany, smiling, looking 10 years younger than me. He isn't worried about property taxes or a leaking roof. He spent 30 years buying his time. I spent 30 years buying a zip code. The system needs you to believe that a house is your greatest investment. They want you to lock your wealth in a place you can't access, so you'll keep working, keep paying taxes, and keep the machine running until you're too old to enjoy the freedom you were promised. They want you to have a paid-off home and an empty life. I finally own my house, but looking around these empty rooms, I realized that for 30 years, the house was the one that owned me. And by the time you realize that you can't spend equity to buy back your youth, it's already too late.